Have you waited until the last minute to book a pet sitter for the holidays? If you have, you're going to realize that most good pet sitters are booked months in advance. And that's just the way it is. But if you haven't booked somebody yet and you're still looking, let me tell you what pet sitters like. There are a few things that, as a full time pet sitter of nearly 10 years, um, there are things that we look for that are green lights, and there are things that we look for that are red lights. And I want to go over the things that we love and the things that we don't love when we're pet sitting in your homes. First off, we appreciate advance notice. If you're trying to book last minute pet sitting, it's going to be more expensive and it's going to be harder to find. I'm already booked for pretty much the whole month. I've got a little bit of a quiet spell next week and the week after, and I don't really want to fill it because from December 22nd all the way through the first week of January, I am booked solid with no breathing room. So I'm looking forward to my downtime to come before the holidays. So I'm not looking for random drop ins those weeks. I'm looking forward to protecting my time. But there are things that I look for as a pet sitter that make the stay safer for your dog and more enjoyable for me. First off, I'm going to ask you if you have other people that are planning to be in the house. That's usually a deal breaker. It's a liability for one, and it also makes me really uncomfortable sharing the space with another stranger that I don't know. But in addition to that, every extra person that is opening and closing doors, that presents a risk to your dog of getting out. And so I avoid that if at all possible. I do have clients that have grown children that like to come over and use the swimming pool or maybe like to do their laundry there. It's not my favorite thing though. I prefer having the house to myself so that I can lock it down and know that it stays that way. And I can just be more comfortable. If I'm walking around in my pajamas, I don't necessarily want a bunch of strangers to see me in a lot less clothing. So there's just it's a privacy thing and it's a safety thing. So minimizing other people that will be coming to the home is a plus. Now, most of my clients have housekeepers that come. If it's a short stay, it would be better if the housekeeper came before I come or after I come, not while I'm there, for the same reasons. It's just a liability. Housekeepers like to leave the doors open when they're mopping and taking things in and out, and that is an opportunity for your dog to escape. Same thing with gardeners, pool guys, any type of handyman. Don't schedule handymen to come while you're not there. And while we're talking about things that you should do before I get there, if your dog is on a prescription dog food or has prescription medicine, I don't want to leave the dog to go get the medicine, especially if your vet is across town. I've had that happen. If it's an emergency, it's an emergency and I will do it. But you should have everything that the dog needs already there. We shouldn't run out of food. We shouldn't run out of medicine. If he's got certain treats that he likes, all the things that your dog needs should be already stocked. Because my job is to come and take care of your pet, not to do your grocery shopping. I don't mean for that to sound mean, but that is what I'm there for. So take care of their needs, minimize the people coming in and out, and also go through your house before you have the pet sitter come over for the meet and greet. And by the way, the meet and greet is non-negotiable. If you're hiring somebody new who's never been to your house, never met your dogs, you must meet them before they come to your house for a couple of reasons. One, for your own peace of mind. You need to put a face to this person. You need to get a sense of their vibe, but you also need to see how your dog or cat reacts to them. Dogs don't love everybody. And you want to be able to show them the dog's routine in person, hands-on. You want to test the keys out ahead of time, stick them in the lock, turn them, make sure that they work. So I've had people that have changed their locks and they forgot that they changed their locks and they grabbed their spare key and the spare key was for the old locks. And you don't want to be in Europe when your pet sitter figures out that they can't get into your house and your dog's already in there alone. So don't do that. And as a pet sitter, I always check the keys, but as an owner, you should too. If your pet is shy around new people, go ahead and pay for a few visits. Pay for enough drop-in visits for the pet sitter to come ahead of time so that we can get over that. I've got a dog named Mikey that is actually sitting here on the couch with me. He's right here. Um, but I pet sit him for a week before his owner, actually 2 weeks, before his owner actually went on her trip. Because when she first rescued him, nobody else could touch his collar. And he tried to bite me every time I tried to put his leash on. So she would leave his leash on and I would go get him and I would take him for a walk. He was okay if I picked up the leash and just walked him. So we did that initially. And then she was telling me one day that he really likes other dogs, but he's really scared around new people. And so I have a really friendly little dog who's also sitting here with me. And I'll just show you. There's Mikey and there's Butch. So what I did was I brought Mikey over to my house and I let him watch Butch interact with me. And after a couple days of him watching Butch trust me and love me and want to be on my lap, well, Mikey did too. And that's how I overcame his fear of new people, was I desensitized him with my own dog. And that's not going to work for every dog, but it worked for Mikey. And it's one more way that you can desensitize a dog if you have a super friendly dog. My dog loves everybody, and Mikey loves all dogs, and now he loves me too. But I'm sitting here with them. So make sure you're comfortable with the dog. You don't want to spend a week or two with a new dog that doesn't like you or that tries to bite you every time you come near it. That's not good for the dog. It's not good for the pet sitter. And if you've got that dog, you might need to pay for some extra drop-in visits. I'm not saying that while you're still home, you want to pay to have a stranger come in your house overnight, but have them come over for an hour at a time for several days in a row until your dog gets used to them before you take your trip, because some dogs will never get used to certain people. And if that's the case with the pet sitter that you picked, you need to know that before you leave. Also, check your house for quirks. What do I mean by that? If you have doors that stick or locks that are finicky, let the pet sitter know. Let them practice while you're there so you can show them the secret sauce on how to get the door lock to turn. Or if your dishwasher leaks, you want to tell the pet sitter that, because most pet sitters are going to come in hoping to be able to use your home as their own. So if they have dishes and you've got a dishwasher, it's not unreasonable for them to be using the dishwasher to wash the dishes that they're using while they're there. But if your dishwasher is broken, they need to know that. Same thing with the washing machine. If they're playing with your dog in the mud and they get dirty and they want to throw a load of laundry in while they're there, that's reasonable. And most clients offer that. But if your washer is broken or your dryer is broken, or your stove doesn't light when you turn the thing, or if you've got fancy ovens or refrigerators that have certain quirks. I have one client whose refrigerator opens normally the first time, and then you close it and it won't open again. You have to wait like 2 minutes and then you can open again. It's like a catering super duper refrigerator, and he told me the quirk on that, so I didn't freak out the first time I opened it and closed it and went back in for something else and I couldn't get it open. That was normal for his refrigerator. And I appreciated that he told me that, because I would be careful about closing it if I wasn't quite done in there. So these are quirks that you need to know. Let's talk about bedding now. The bed is important. Pet sitters often are doing other dog walks throughout the day if they have regular clients. I do. I don't do 24-hour pet sitting in someone's home because I have regular clients that I need to leave to take care of and walk. And I've also got my own dogs that I go home and take care of. Now, there are certain clients where their dogs are friendly enough that I'm invited to bring my dogs, but a lot of times I can't. And so for those dogs that aren't dog friendly, where I leave my dogs at home, I'm going home 3 times a day to take care, to do drop-in visits on my own animals, to feed them and to take them out. And so I'm leaving the house, and that's normal. Most pet sitters are not staying there 24 hours a day. If you need somebody to stay there 24 hours a day, make sure that you make that very clear before you hire a pet sitter, because most of them are going to spend the night at your home, and they're going to come back and visit your dog several times throughout the day to walk them and to feed them and to take care of them, but they're not going to stay there most of the time. But let's get back to sleep. Sleeping is important. Comfortable sleeping is important. Safe sleeping is important. So again, we don't want other people coming in and out of the house if we're going to be sleeping. It just, you can't sleep like that. And we want a real bed. Offering someone to sleep on the couch or a futon that you know is uncomfortable, or a rollaway bed or an air mattress, they might say no just for that reason. If you don't have proper sleeping arrangements, and I've had customers that said sleep in my bed because that's where the dog is used to sleeping and I want the dog to have his normal routine. And so they change the sheets before they leave and everything's clean. And then if they want me to, I can wash the sheets before I leave. Most of them do their own laundry, but they offer me a clean, warm, real bed. And I appreciate that. Also, while we're on the subject of dogs sleeping in the bed, if you have a dog that's not allowed on the bed, let them know. If you have a dog that is used to sleeping in the bed, let them know. Talk about all those things. You can't tell them too much. They need to know what the normal routine is. So offering them a good bed is it's a minimum requirement. They have to have a decent place to sleep. Also, if you have spotlights outside, a lot of customers have motion detector lights, and if a cat runs through, it'll make the lights come on and it'll be right outside the bedroom, and that'll wake somebody up. If you have something like that going on, let them know. I always bring a sleep mask with me when I go to someone's home, just to block out any outside light so I can sleep real good. But if I forgot and they've got a spotlight going on every hour or so, that's going to wake me up. So good solid sleep is a must. As a client, you don't need to provide food. We'll bring our own food. We'll bring our own snacks. If you have things that are in there that are perfectly good that you didn't get to eat before you left, and you want to leave it for the pet sitter, you can, but they may not eat it. We're kind of picky about our food as humans, but it's always nice when somebody offers to leave snacks or sodas or something like that. If you have things that are off limit, let them know. Most pet sitters will not drink your alcohol, but they may have a soda. But you need to make it clear what they're allowed to share and what they should keep their hands off of. And I've had customers leave me bottles of wine. I've had a couple that were in the wine business, and they've offered to leave me certain bottles of wine, but they've been very specific. I left you these 2 bottles of wine, which means the other 10 bottles they have in the other room, I don't touch. And I don't generally touch anything unless somebody has specifically told me, oh, there's a whole pizza in the fridge or freezer and I didn't use it, and go ahead and use it. Or help yourself to the chips and the nuts. If they say help yourself to this or that, then I might, but I'm not going to unless I get that green light. Also, if your pet has unusual feeding routine, or if they're on medication, write it out. Most of my clients write out instructions and the routines for their animals. They go over them with me, but having it written out, we don't always remember stuff. And even if we write stuff down, we might have written it down different than what you meant. So if you write out the instructions, we're not going to forget. And then also share the Wi-Fi password so that they can get on their computer and use their phone and things like that. That goes back to, let them live comfortably in your home if at all possible. If you have emergency contacts that are local, let's say you're going to Europe but your sister lives down the street. Share those numbers. And also, if you have a regular vet, let your vet know that you're going out of town and that you're leaving your animal with a pet sitter. Leave a written note that says the pet sitter has permission to take your animal to the vet and to receive care. The financial burden will still be on you as the owner of the pet. It's not the pet sitter's job to pay your vet bills if something happens or your dog gets sick. You know, I'm not talking about things that the pet sitter may cause. I'm just talking about, if you have an older animal and they have a seizure, or they get really sick and they start throwing up and pooping and things like that. So let your vet know that you're traveling. Have a written permission slip signed by you that says that the pet sitter has permission to receive care, because a lot of times vets won't take care of an animal that doesn't belong to you. Sometimes they will. I've had vets go both ways, but I always get a permission slip signed before my clients leave, so I'm clear on that. Another thing that I've had clients do with I had one client who needed more prescription medicine, and she also needed thyroid medication. The owners had tried to get the prescriptions filled before they left, and the medicine was out of stock, so they couldn't. And so they had me go to the vet and pick up the prescription and the food, but they had left a credit card on file. So it was paid for by the customer. And that's something that you can do, especially if you have an older or a more fragile animal. You can, in addition to calling your vet and leaving that permission slip, you can leave a credit card on file with most of the vets. And then that way, if something does happen, of course, we're going to call you first anyway. And if we can reach you, then you can give the credit card to the vet that way. And I have had people pay over the phone for things like that. But I think that pretty much wraps it up. If there's anything that I forgot, please leave it in the comments for other people. And I hope you have a great trip wherever you're going. And I hope you get a good pet sitter. And I'll see you next time.